Tonight, you're going to walk past a mirror, catch your own reflection for half a second, and think absolutely nothing of it. But for most of human history, that same glance could get you killed or worse, damned. In 1st century Rome, breaking a mirror wasn't just bad luck. It meant you just shattered a piece of your own soul into pieces so small it would take 7 years to heal. In parts of 19th century Europe, families rushed to cover every mirror in the house. The moment someone died, not out of grief, but out of terror. What were they so afraid the mirror would do? And why does a piece of glass you used to check your hair still carry the ghost of that fear even now? Humans didn't invent mirrors. We stumbled into them. The earliest known mirrors come from Çatalhöyük, a 9,000-year-old settlement in modern-day Turkey, where archaeologists working under Ian Hodder uncovered polished obsidian, discs volcanic glass ground smooth enough to throw back a blurry human face. Before that, for the overwhelming majority of our species' existence, the only reflection a person ever saw of themselves was in still water. That's it. No mirrors, no glass, no polished metal. Just a wobbly, imperfect image staring back from a pond. Then something changed. By around 4000 BCE, Egyptians were casting mirrors from polished copper. By the 1st century CE, craftsmen in Sidon, in modern Lebanon, figured out how to back glass with metal, creating the first mirrors close to what you use today. For the first time in history, ordinary people could see themselves clearly whenever they wanted. You'd think that would just be convenient. Instead, it terrified people. Because once humans could suddenly see a near-perfect copy of themselves, staring back with total independence, they had to ask an unsettling question. What if that copy isn't just an image? What if it's a piece of you? That question didn't fade. It multiplied into some of the strangest death rituals in human history, and it's stranger than you think. The Scottish anthropologist Sir James Frazer spent decades cataloguing these beliefs in his sweeping 1890 study, The Golden Bough. Frazer documented cultures across Europe, Africa, and Asia that independently arrived at the same unsettling idea. A reflection isn't just light bouncing off glass. It's a fragment of the soul, temporarily separated from the body. That's why, historically, so many cultures covered mirrors around death. In Jewish mourning tradition, during the 7-day Shiva period, mirrors in the house are still covered today. In Victorian England, the custom was nearly universal the moment someone died. Mirrors were draped in black cloth or turned to face the wall. The fear wasn't superstition for its own sake. It followed a specific internal logic. If a mirror holds a piece of your soul, then a newly freed soul, wandering the house after death, might get trapped inside the glass, or worse, might drag a living person's reflection out with it. Here's the part that should make you pause. This wasn't confined to one region. Frazer found strikingly similar mirror soul beliefs in societies with no contact with each other, parts of West Africa, rural China, and indigenous communities in North America. When completely unconnected cultures land on the same fear independently, it's usually not coincidence. It's evidence of something wired deep into how human cognition processes self-image. That's where a very different kind of researcher picks up the thread. In 1970, psychologist Gordon Gallup Jr. published a landmark study in the journal, a science that had nothing to do with folklore and everything to do with what a mirror actually does to a brain. Gallup dabbed a small red mark on the brows of chimpanzees while they were sedated, then watched what happened when they saw themselves in a mirror. The chimps immediately touched the mark on their own faces, not on the mirror. That single reaction proved something enormous. They understood the reflection was them. Gallup's mirror test became one of the most cited measures of self-awareness in animal cognition. Only a handful of species pass it: great apes, dolphins, elephants, magpies, and humans, but not until around 18 months of age. So mirror recognition isn't automatic. It's a cognitive milestone, which raises the question, if recognizing yourself in a mirror is something your brain has to learn to do, is it really so strange that early humans, encountering that experience for the first time as a species, interpreted it as something supernatural? The fear evolved in stages. First, in prehistory, mirrors were rare, expensive, and almost ceremonial, reserved for the wealthy or used in religious ritual, which only deepened their mystical reputation. Then, as Roman glassmaking techniques spread mirrors more widely by the early centuries CE, a specific superstition crystallized. Breaking a mirror shattered your soul. And it would take 7 years, the length of time. Romans believed the body fully renewed itself for your life to repair. And then something shifts that most people never hear about. The word mirror itself comes from the Latin mirari, meaning to wonder at or to be amazed. The same root that gives us miracle. Even the language around mirrors was built on astonishment, not vanity. But here's the twist nobody talks about. As mirrors became cheaper and more common through the Middle Ages and into the Renaissance, the fear didn't disappear, it just got rebranded. Painters started using mirrors obsessively for self-portraits. Vanitas paintings, popular in the 1600s, showed mirrors alongside skulls and wilting flowers, reminding viewers that beauty and self-image were fleeting, even dangerous vanities. The soul theft superstition had quietly morphed into a moral warning about narcissism. By the Victorian era, that moral fear fused directly with the older death ritual, producing the mirror covering practices. Historians still document in 19th century households across Britain and America. The specific belief had changed shape 3 separate times. The underlying anxiety never left. You'd think, in an age of smartphone cameras and front-facing lenses, that ancient mirror superstition would be completely dead. It isn't. It just changed its costume again. Communication researcher Jesse Fox at Ohio State University, along with Margaret Rooney, published a 2015 study in Personality and Individual Differences, examining what predicts frequent selfie posting and photo editing behavior. Their findings linked heavier selfie and self-image editing specifically to higher self-objectification, treating your own reflection as something to manage, judge and perfect, rather than something that's simply you. Think about what that actually means. The core anxiety hasn't gone anywhere. Ancient humans worried a mirror might steal a piece of their soul. Modern humans scroll through filtered photos of their own face, worrying the image staring back doesn't measure up to some other version of themselves. The mechanism changed. The unease didn't. Even the old death ritual survives, quietly in plain sight. Next time you're at a funeral home, look around. Many still keep mirrors minimal or absent in viewing rooms. A fading echo of a fear people no longer consciously name, but somehow still feel. So why were ancient people so convinced a mirror could steal your soul? Because they'd stumbled onto something we still haven't fully resolved. Seeing yourself clearly, completely from the outside, is not a neutral act. It's disorienting. It's a confrontation. Your brain had to evolve, slowly over millions of years, before it could even recognize that face as belonging to you. What if the fear was never really about magic at all? What if it was the earliest, clumsiest way humans had of describing something true, that self-awareness is strange, and heavy, and a little bit dangerous? We didn't outgrow that fear. We just traded the black cloth over the mirror for a filter on a camera. You're still, in your own way, afraid of what the glass might take from you.